there was also the baby that Callie had. So that would have been a human. Anyway, one of those two babies is like a little girl by the time they land on the Earth, and they find these really primitive humans, so a lot of members of the fleet basically go off to live in like the mountains of Africa, and there's this really emotional moment where I forgot to mention that this whole time Baltar had been having his like.
You was asking about Baltar.
Yeah, he'd been cultivating his status as like this religious leader. Yeah, I put hungry eyes on this. I was swearing last, by the way, sort of as a joke. Anyway, so this whole time Baltar had becoming more and more of this religious leader, sort of leading a faction of both humans and people. Actually, honestly, for sort of the last 10 episodes, Baltar is kind of less of a factor, which is kind of too bad. Anyway, at the end, there's this really emotional moment where Baltar and Six are going to go to live
with the baby, right?
With the baby, and they're going to go to live, and Baltar's like, I know about farming, and it's this emotional moment because Baltar's reminds us of how he had been from a poor colony initially, and his parents had been farmers despite his fancy scientist profession. Anyway, it was it was emotional at the time. It was like, I can't remember all the details, but when I saw it, I was like really touched by this whole thing. Just trust me on that. So they go off to live. Okay, had you seen enough of the series to know that the original number 6 was also seeing Baltar in her head?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's head 6 and head Baltar, right? Anyway, the show ends, the remnant... Oh, this is important. Here, I don't know if you're like helping me or like ridiculing me.
No.
It's help ridicule.
No,
So,
you do.
So this whole thing happens where Kara is talking to Lee and they're having this emotional conversation, and then she disappears.
She fucking disappears.
Like it's as though ever since Kara came back from the dead, it was like the whole time she'd been like a ghost, basically, or like an angel or something, playing a role in the cosmic scheme. So as soon as her role is fulfilled, she's having this emotional conversation with Lee, and it's this classic like movie trope where the camera has the wide shot of both of them, camera focuses on Lee, and by the time they go back to the wide shot, she's gone. Okay, so Kara disappears because she's fulfilled her role as an angel or whatever the hell she was. Anyway, and then Adama. Adama goes with Rosalind, who's deathly ill at this point, but she had been working up to the end. She had been helping the wounded because they had had this big battle with bad Cylons. She'd been helping the wounded. Anyway, they land on this hillside, and the idea is that Adama takes her there just so that she can die, and she sees this really beautiful vista of Africa, the plains of Africa, before she dies, and she dies, and that's the last you see of Adama. Everyone else goes off to live in Africa. And then the show goes 400,000 years later, and we're in Midtown Manhattan. We're on Times Square, right?
Right.
And Head Baltar and Head 6 are walking around in Midtown Manhattan, sort of like discoursing about human history and the cycles and everything. And the final montage of the show is like robotics. It shows like, things from Japan, like robots that play soccer, robots that dance and everything. And it's coming back to that whole thing of this has all happened before and it will happen again.
And a million other times.
So in the within the universe they created, right, there was Cylons created on Earth that resulted in a nuclear war, and 5 of them learned how to create resurrection, shipped themselves off to a distant corner of the galaxy, which eventually became the 7 colonies, and so the Cylons from over here link up with the Cylons from over here. So the idea is implying that species will continue to create artificial versions of themselves. The creation of the artificial versions of themselves engender a great cataclysm or war, which leads to a starting over of civilization, and then that civilization eventually creates artificial versions of themselves, so it's like this thing. Did you see,
Damn.
Did you mention...
Did you see... Okay, go ahead.
Did you mention how they killed Tori? And how Anders was like
That's right.
like plugged into the.
There's this huge.
Where Tyrell finds out.
During the big battle sequence, there's this huge denouement for some plotly reason. The five Cylons, the Ties, Tyrell, Anders, and Tori, have to like stick their hands into this vat, which connects them up to the computer of the galactic. Connects them up to the Galactica computer.
Yeah.
In so doing, it makes it so each one of them can access the memories of each other one of them.
Yeah.
So in so doing, Tyrell sees the fact that Tori had killed Callie, because it had been a mystery up to then. Everyone had assumed Callie had committed suicide, but in fact, Tori killed Callie. So when Tyrell finds that out, he strangles Tori to death. And actually, this is kind of critical because the fact that he kills Tori fucks up whatever thing they were trying to do. Like whatever, I can't remember what it was.
They were trying to.
I can't remember what they were trying to do.
They were trying to like have some sort of agreement with
the bad Cylons.
With the bad Cylons. Oh, well, we'll do all this shit for you, and it'll be fine. We're all gonna work together and hug and.
But then,
exactly. Oh God, you killed my wife! I fucking hate you.
Exactly. So that fucks it up, and so there's this scene where Brother Cavill commits suicide really, like. Gun in the mouth, really dramatically. I can't, Anyway, and that whole thing leads to them jumping to like the Earth,
and at the same time,
Homo erectus Earth.
Yeah. Did you say how Anders falls into this coma and he's
Anders becomes like a hybrid.
He's like like this weird computer.
Yeah, had you seen in the episodes you'd seen the parts like where there's like the lady in the tub who just kind of goes. The fifth signal of the setting sun, blah blah blah.
She like Minority Report girl.
Right. Anders becomes one of those for some reason. Nice. I can't remember how. I can't
the
remember
most
why.
Interesting he's ever been. Yeah, I think.
Yeah. He was kind of like a Jaeger bomb kind of guy anyway.
Did you see Caprica, the series?
No, the Law and Order.
Wait. Give us a nice little summary before we go into Caprica. Just some. Nice little sign off.
A summary of Battlestar Galactica.
Just a nice little sign off.
Basically, one of the best television shows that's ever been. Seriously. The fourth season was problematic. The ending was problematic. It resolved itself maybe a little too cheaply in some ways. But honestly, if every TV show had to have this like perfect airtight ending for itself, I honestly think that's sort of unfair. I think that the show ended truthfully to itself in terms of the characters, and that's what was important.
Yeah, but
even if somebody
as far as a vessel for entertainment,
yeah,
they were like that. I remember the first two seasons were like
neck-breakingly. Another thing that the fourth season does is it has these like long ago flashbacks to before the whole series even started. It talks like there's this whole sequence about Rosalind's love affair with like the president of the 12 colonies, and this.
So that's how she got her job.
That's how she got her job. And then there's this whole sequence about Baltar Baltar's father had Alzheimer's. It goes into a lot of that stuff in a really interesting way. So basically, yeah, one of the best television series ever. Seasons 2 and 3, fantastic. The problem with those seasons though is every once in a while, the show would try to have these like standalone episodes in which would try to have like this mini plot that would be sort of begun, middle, and ended within the same episode, and those were always terrible.
Oh yeah, like
the black market one.
The black market thing.
The one where Lee has the prostitute. Terrible.
The food rebellion thing where the guards are like, and they shoot everybody, and they're like.
Every time they tried to have a standalone episode, they were bad. But every time it focused on like the overarching plot, it was excellent. Especially the season on New Caprica, where they have. I mean, it was clearly an Iraq War analogy, right? Where the humans are basically the insurgents in Iraq, and they're doing suicide bombings. That stuff was brilliant. I mean, that was edgy. It was stuff that other TV shows were not doing. I mean, it was great. So that was Battlestar Galactica.
Way better than the original fucking series.
Yeah.
I didn't see the original.